Tonight, video of a violent arrest on a TTC streetcar. Two fare inspectors filmed tackling a rider and spraying him with some type of substance. What the TTC is saying about it. Plus,
it wasn't really a tense atmosphere on the plane. It was pretty, people were, I think, relieved and happy to be headed over here.
The Canadians airlifted from the coronavirus-struck city of Wuhan are back home. Now they're bracing themselves for life under quarantine. And a city councilor is snowed under with complaints about sloppy sidewalk plowing. Residents say their property is being damaged. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. We have video of a violent arrest that took place on a streetcar during a routine fare inspection this morning on Queen Street. It was posted to Twitter today, and it's raising questions about how TTC special constables are being trained. Angelina King has more.
This video has been watched more than 75,000 times since it was posted online this afternoon. The man who recorded it wrote on Twitter that everything escalated within seconds. He says the officers approached the man and asked for proof of payment. He blew them off. They insisted and stopped the streetcar. Then there was shoving and punching before he was arrested.
Sir, come on. We can't have you filming right now.
You can see the officer spray something. The TTC won't say what it is.
It was obviously very shocking and disturbing.
City Councillor Brad Bradford is on the TTC board. He calls the constable's actions unacceptable and says action must be taken. Toronto police are investigating and say the man was reportedly acting violent and aggressive. The man behind the video says before officers were involved, the passenger appeared intoxicated. He had kicked off his shoes and was yelling at people but didn't seem dangerous. The TTC is also investigating. It released a statement saying, in part, the incident occurred during a routine fare inspection. It took place after the constables were approached by several customers on board who had concerns. The TTC is hiring more fare inspectors as it works to ramp up enforcement. It says last year it lost just over $70 million because of fare evasions, up by nearly $10 million compared to the year before.
We're not hitting the mark on fare evasion, both with respect to fares that aren't being captured, $70 million lost last year, and then the treatment of TTC customers and a lack of discretion of, as I understand it, someone who was clearly in distress. That is just not the way to do it, and we have to do better.
The TTC is aiming to have 111 fare inspectors and 72 special constables by the fall. It says they're trained in mental health awareness, human rights, and preventing racial bias, among other things. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
This is the first night back on Canadian soil for more than 200 Canadians after a grueling journey from the coronavirus outbreak zone in China. This morning, a Canadian flight arrived at CFB Trenton with 176 passengers on board, followed by a second flight with 39 more Canadians this afternoon. All of the evacuees are now in quarantine on the base for the next 2 weeks. Talia Ricci has more from Trenton.
We're doing really well. We are much relieved and relaxed to be here, and we're settling in. And trying to overcome the only major hurdle left, which is getting over jet lag.
These Canadians wanted out, and now they're home. Their worries of what could have happened if they stayed in the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak are gone.
We were in the countryside a number of hours outside of Wuhan. If anything medical had happened to us, coronavirus or otherwise, there really wouldn't have been many options for us.
Both flights left Wuhan yesterday and made a stop in Vancouver before continuing to the military base in Trenton, Ontario.
And we are taking the necessary precautions to ensure the safety of our guests, our personnel, and also our local communities.
A snowy and cold arrival, but also a warm welcome from the local community.
So we decided to put together happy treats. Cupcakes, brownies, heart-shaped cookies. Welcome home. We want them to feel happy. They're home. They're on Canadian soil.
The community is very supportive, very, very supportive. I've had a number of business people step up. I've had calls from people south to Caring Place and west to London, to asking how can they support, what can we do.
All passengers were processed by Canada Border Service Agency staff and health officials, then taken to this motel. They'll be provided with meals, necessities, and some entertainment. Carrie Bowman was quarantined during the SARS epidemic.
Because we know what occurred during SARS, you really would want to have people that are properly trained to stand by for their own psychological support. And again, I'm not saying that isn't happening, but you really have to think about people's psychology and emotional needs as much as their physical.
But for now, after a long journey, a new priority for Megan Millward.
Definitely need to get a couple of hours sleep to be able to think straight again.
The health minister did say this morning that there would be mental health supports in place for the evacuees. Many of them did have a long, stressful journey, and some of them were even separated from their loved ones. Another evacuation flight chartered by Ottawa is scheduled to leave Wuhan on Monday. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Trenton, Ontario.
Now, also near Trenton and Belleville, protesters erected a blockade on some train tracks, resulting in dozens of trains being canceled between Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa.
I'm here getting ready for my 12:20 train, and to my surprise, it was canceled, and got in line and heard that all the trains were canceled. So we're all scrambling, making friends today, looking for alternate routes to Ottawa.
I'm just tired and upset about it.
Members from the Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory created a blockade using a dump truck. They are acting in support of Indigenous protesters in BC attempting to stop the construction of a natural gas pipeline. So far, more than 25 trips have been canceled because of the protest. It's also affecting freight trains. Via Rail is asking passengers to check their website for updates this weekend. And both sides have finished their final submissions at the sentencing hearing of the so-called chair girl. 20-year-old Marcella Zoya pleaded guilty in November to mischief causing danger to life after throwing a chair off a downtown balcony last year.
Here we go.
Today, the Crown played that infamous video as evidence, saying there were several people in the area at the time and she was lucky she didn't kill someone. The defense argued peer pressure and said Zoya had struggled with ADHD since childhood and was, quote, self-medicating with alcohol at the time. Zoya stood up in the courtroom and read a statement out loud saying she sought out a doctor and counseling. The Crown is asking for 4 to 6 months in jail, while her lawyer is calling for a suspended sentence. The judge will release her decision next month. Kella Kennedy's here with the first look at the forecast, and I'm shivering just thinking about it.
Yes, it is a cold one. We have got some air moving in. It does drop us below seasonal. It's not just that, it's the fact that we haven't had to deal with this for a little bit. So you got to get accustomed to it, and for that reason, but also to get those warming centers opened up, because it can be very serious when we're seeing the cold air moving in like tonight. So an extreme cold weather alert. At least we're going to have sunshine, though, so a pretty day on Saturday, albeit crisp. And then look at that. Another system's going to move through later on Sunday and into Monday and bring us another bit of snow. And I'll go into that in more detail coming up a little later. Highly isolated, but there are still some squalls. Those will be easing as those winds continue to back off overnight tonight. High pressure brings quite a lot of sunshine through the day for us on Saturday, and then at Sunday things start to change. A trough brings that cloud cover, but it's actually this system back here that we'll be dealing with later on. So that's the one we'll be talking about. But tonight, minus 14, feeling like we're in the minus 20s, and then tomorrow afternoon, even with that sun, still minus 8, about the best we can do for a high, Mike.
Even with that sun, minus 8. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
And that snow is keeping busy those tiny snowplows clean the sidewalks in many parts of the city. But a few Scarborough residents say they are sick of that service because every time crews swing by, their property gets damaged. Natalie Nanowski has more.
See that missing chunk of grass and this broken fence? It's just the latest victim of the sidewalk plow.
This year, they've managed to hit my fence twice. The second time, the worst time, where they dislodged the whole thing and pushed it right up against my vehicle.
And Terry Smith isn't the only one tormented by the plow.
A good example of the sod removed here.
Just down the street, Donna Moore's lawn has been dug up again.
I live on a curve, The sidewalk dimensions, however, don't vary. It just means they have to slow down a little.
But residents say crews just plow through.
This is supposed to be an essential service, which should be appreciated, but in our case, it does more damage than good.
So much damage that after 35 years on this street, Smith finally complained when workers broke his fence.
The city did come and have a look at it and noted it and told me that they would be fixing it early as they could in the spring.
We're about halfway through winter right now, and already there have been about 200 complaints about snow removal from this ward alone. That's how many the councillor expects to get through a whole winter, and we still have about several weeks left.
The complaints seem to be steady.
Ainsley passed a motion to have staff look into why this keeps happening in Scarborough, though he's pretty certain the issue is citywide.
I've talked with some of my other council colleagues, and I'm hearing the same thing from them. They're not happy with the quality of the work.
That doesn't surprise these residents.
And in the spring, it means we have to repair our lawns on both sides.
Hopefully by this spring, these residents will have some answers. The staff report on plows is due in June. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
No ifs, no buts, no education cuts.
Another day, another teacher strike. So what is it like on the picket line? We follow one teacher from getting ready in the morning to walking and protesting against the province's cuts to education. That's coming up after the break. Elementary students are out of the classroom for a second day now in some regions of Ontario, including here in the GTA.
Stop the cuts! Stop the cuts! Stop the cuts! Our teachers, our members, will not back down. We're not going to back down on the critical issues for classrooms and teachers, educators in Ontario. The future of our children is at stake.
Teachers at more than a dozen school boards were on strike today in Toronto, York Region, Hamilton, and Windsor. Yesterday, nearly 1 million students had the day off as the Elementary Teachers Federation held a province-wide strike. Another province-wide strike is scheduled for Tuesday. Well, teachers from Wandering Spirit School, formerly the First Nations School of Toronto, were among TDSB staff on strike today. For elementary teacher Val Cooper, the fight is to protect resources and support for special education. CBC Toronto followed her from her home this morning at 7:30 to the picket line.
My name is Val Cooper, and I teach grade 7 and 8 math and science at Wandering Spirit School at the TDSB. On a normal day, I'd be sort of getting ready and going to work and going to school and getting my classroom ready, but today I'm not going into the classroom because we've escalated our work to rule to actually picketing, and schools are closed because we need the supports within the classrooms that help our students succeed. So without the, I almost want to call them the behind the scenes supports, without the spec ed, without the special education teachers, without the psychologists, without the early reading coaches, those are the things that really make a school work and really make students to be able to achieve their own success. We are a Indigenous focused school, so we do talk about the fact that it's important to get out on the land and to get out sort of, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So as long as you're wearing extra socks and extra pair of pants and you bring a nice warm beverage, you can stay warm. I don't know any teacher that wouldn't rather be in the classroom with their students. But that means in the classroom with their students with the supports that they need.
All right, so we were just meeting everybody at our school, meet all of our teachers from our school. Now we're headed to the Danforth to be with a bunch of other schools, and then also just so that the public can see us and ask us questions about why we're on strike today. Right now we're at sort of Donlands and Danforth, and this crew will be here till 11:30, and then we've got the afternoon crew who's going to come in and replace us, so that we're here all day trying to get cars to honk and everybody to support us and sort of know why we're out here. So far we've seen nothing but support from the public. Nice honks, we've had students bringing us snacks, we've had fellow teachers who are with different unions coming and supporting us, bringing us things to keep our hands warm, things like that. Right, so we've got the local MPP's office just across the street from here, and he's been kind enough to say that if we need to go in and warm up or use the bathrooms, we can go into his office. I guess my point would be, when it comes to salary, this is my third day out in the snow picketing, which means I've already lost more than 2% of my salary this year. If this were about a salary, it's already gone. This is about making sure that our students have what they need in their classrooms. It's not necessarily about the money we take home as teachers.
I want to be a movie star. Nobody.
Well, community in the beaches is mourning the loss of a recognized local face. Wayne Joyce sold pens at the corner of Queen and Lee for years, a corner that is now turned into a memorial. We speak to some of his closest friends about his love for life. Still ahead, Michelle.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Kelly Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. I guess we can't really complain about this cold. We've had such a mild stretch leading up to this, but it's going to be a rude awakening when I get home tonight.
It is going to be, that's right, Mike, because, you know, we get into this in the overnight, and then as most of us kind of getting up and getting going on Saturday, those morning hours, it's going to be a little bit of a shock at just how chilly it is. Now, these are the daytime highs, unofficial ones, but from today, pretty drastic, the difference between Windsor right up at freezing and then all the negatives you see kind of elsewhere across southern and eastern Ontario. But take that -4, well, let's back that down another 4 degrees, around -8, about the best we'll do for a high for Saturday. But this is what's kind of playing out. So that's the system from earlier, from that snowfall and the cold front passing through. The winds northwesterly got quite brisk at times, really gusty. Those kind of backing off through the overnight, but high pressure builds in, it clears the skies, puts that cold air in place. Now, a little system passing through means there's more cloud cover into an extreme southwestern Ontario, not getting quite the sunshine we'll be seeing elsewhere. But even into Saturday night, still on the chilly side into Sunday morning. Now, a trough that's passing by here to the south of us brings some cloud cover, starts to push that eastward as we're going through the day on Sunday. So it kind of starts out okay for the GTA and then changes. But you're going to see earlier in the day some of that snow returning to southwestern Ontario, and by Sunday evening spreading into the GTA and beyond and carrying on into Monday morning. So I think even Monday morning's commute, you may want to allow a little extra time. And on the back side of this, a little bit, see a mixed precipitation in here too, so it could be a little bit slushy at times. It will pull our temperature up a little bit from the deep freeze, but still, we've got to deal with that. And we're looking at maybe seeing somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 8 centimeters with that particular system moving through. Now, as we go into later Monday, we get into some clearing and some quieter conditions. But overnight tonight, here you go, southwestern Ontario, some scattered flurries, -6 to -8. And then even tomorrow, it comes up to -2, some sunny breaks hopefully, but still feeling like -8 with the wind chill. Very cold tonight, so the extreme cold weather alert, feeling like we're in the -20s through the GTA. And then even tomorrow, hey, nice sky conditions, no doubt about it, but those temperatures running, those daytime highs, a little bit closer to what would be a seasonal low for this time of year. However, there you go, with that system coming through. Take a look at the highs. We go to freezing or above as we go into next week, Mike. There we go again.
So it bounces back up. Okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
The Raptors looking to extend their franchise best 12-game winning streak, closing out a home-and-home with the Indiana Pacers. Kyle Lowry poured in 10 quick points in the first. He'd move past Vince Carter for third on the franchise all-time scoring list, but a scare for him in the third. He drives the hoop and collides with Serge Ibaka's leg. He's down, and he would actually leave the game and not return due to whiplash. Fourth quarter off to Pascal Siakam missed. Terrence Davis grabs the board, slams it home. That capped off an 8-0 Raptor run as Toronto wins this game 115-106, their 13th straight win. And Leafs hosting the Anaheim Ducks tonight. Newly acquired Jack Campbell getting the start in net for the injured Frederik Andersen, and Kyle Clifford also making his Leafs debut. Second period, game tied at 1. John Tavares puts Toronto back on top. Later in that period, Austin Matthews wires home his 40th of the season, matching his career high in goals. Third period, just over a minute to go. Toronto in front. The Ducks with an empty net. They jam it past Campbell, tie things up, and send it to overtime. It's a 4-on-3 in overtime. Marner spots Tavares in front for the redirect. Leafs take it in OT 5-4. We'll be right back. If you live near or spend any time along Queen Street East in the Beach, you may know the name, or at least the face, of Wayne Joyce. He sold pens out in front of a grocery store. He passed away last week. Yeva Lutz spoke to some people who knew him.
I remember walking by and he'd always call my mom Marilyn.
Beach residents visit a makeshift memorial placed in the same spot Wayne Joyce used to sit, selling his pens out front of the grocery store at the corner of Queen and Lee. Joyce was known by the nickname Hollywood because he would call every woman who passed by Marilyn Monroe. Some men would get Rock Hudson.
And he was always so pleasant and always like, "Hey, darling," or "Hey, muscles," something funny like that.
You didn't expect someone to call you Marilyn Monroe or something like that because most of us don't look like her. And so it was a great compliment and just made you laugh and have a happier day.
Joyce died of a heart attack on Saturday at the age of 60. His childhood friend, Patricia Pfeiffer, watched over him his whole life.
You know, I always put a smile on people, you know, call them different names and stuff. He was an easy person. He was easy.
It wasn't easy for Joyce. He was born into poverty and had health problems throughout his life, but it didn't stop him from getting out every day to sell his pens.
It's so beautiful. He don't even think about his sickness. He was a fighter.
He'll be the first movie star. Back in 2013, there was even a rumor he had died, but we found him selling his pens outside Toronto General after a bout of pneumonia.
I want to be a movie star. He wanted to go to so many places. He really wanted to go to Hollywood.
Later in life, he needed a kidney. Pfeiffer gave him one of hers.
Was that a hard decision for you?
No. It was the easiest thing I ever did. If I had to do it all again, I would do it all again. Because he was well worth it. He was a love in my heart. Yeah, that's IGA there, look.
And Wayne's in there, right?
Yeah, and we're here. Somewhere in there.
But now that Joyce won't be returning to his regular spot, people in the neighborhood say they'll miss how he made them feel.
Albert has left the building.
Yeva Lutz, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, that's our newscast for tonight and for the week. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend. Maribel Taruk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Good night.